gentlelady from Florida, Mrs. Cammack, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Chairman Scott. Thank you to Secretary Vilsack. I appreciate your time here today. I've got a litany of questions, so I'm just going to jump right into them. Mr. Secretary, as you know, Florida is a heavy fluid milk state. Our farms are much larger than many areas of the country. Very strong Class 1 production. Now, this is in regard to the Volatility Assistance Program. Now, when the program was instituted, it was very welcome help and much appreciated. But the 5 million pound per producer cap, which was instituted solely at the discretion of the administration, will have the effect of significantly limiting reimbursements to many of my producers. Keep in mind, these are family operations by and large. Now, my colleague, Representative Lawson, and I, we are working in a bipartisan way to try to solve this problem, to secure additional funding for this program. We actually sent you a letter back in October, have not received a response. So this is a really important issue, I know, to many of our producers across the state of Florida, but I know this is important to you as well. So I'd like to just first ask, as we work through this, will you commit to working with us to make sure that this funding helps to close the gap for many of our producers who were hit very badly by the 2020 losses?
Well, I'm happy to work on this issue. I think we structured the program so that it provided the help to the farmers who were most disadvantaged by the way in which the market was adjusted and adapted to the food box programs and other challenges during the pandemic. We're obviously looking for ways in which we can provide help and assistance, but I'm not going to be I'm not going to take I'm not going to apologize, if you will, for the 5 million pound threshold, because it was designed for those very small and mid-sized area operations to benefit. We have other things that provided help and assistance to the dairy industry, not the least of which is the Supplemental Dairy Margin Protection Program, and the restructuring of that pretty important to the dairy industry as well.
Well, and Mr. Secretary, I understand. I mean, I understand where it was targeted at. We sustained millions in losses. And again, these are family operations. These aren't major corporate entities. Florida, by given, the Class 1 milk market that we are in, we sustained a unique situation in Florida. But I do look forward to working with you on it. I'm going to redirect here now to another topic that I think is really important to highlight, and that's broadband. Obviously, we would like to see some better coordination to make sure that there's not overbuilding, because we have several areas of rural America that programs like Reconnect would be beneficial in, but because of the multiple programs through FCC as well as USDA and others, we're seeing overbuilding as a real issue. But one of the topics that hasn't been touched on here today is, I would think that USDA would want to encourage as many broadband providers as possible to participate in USDA programs, but some of the scoring preferences for round 3 of the Reconnect program seem to work against that goal. Now, for example, providers are awarded points in the application process for a quote-unquote commitment to net neutrality. That is actually the language in the program. Now, Mr. Secretary, you were fully aware that the net neutrality rules were repealed by the FCC in 2018, correct?
Well, I'm also aware of the fact that we want to make sure that folks have access to as much capacity and much opportunity to use the internet as possible, and that they shouldn't necessarily be restricted or confined to choices that the provider provides. And that's the reason here, is to make sure that folks have the full range of capacities available with the internet.
So what does the department plan to do to police the net neutrality, because this is USDA, not FCC, if the provider is not living up to the obligations to commit to net neutrality? How does that benefit the deployment of a variety of different services and providers in rural America? Well,
the point of this is to make sure in the application that there is a process and a mechanism by which we can assure performance, and obviously there is resources being provided over a period of time, and if it turns out that the services are not what people have promised, why then there are recourses to basically suggest a repayment of those resources. And so at the end of the day, it's financially beneficial for folks to try to see if they can live up to the responsibilities in their application. If they don't want If they don't want to use that, if they don't want to make that commitment, they don't
Mr.
have to make
Secretary,
that
I'm so
commitment.
sorry, I got to reclaim my time. I only have a few seconds left. So at this point, I would like to request a step-by-step plan from the department on its enforcement, how you define net neutrality, how that is contradictory to the FCC rules that were repealed in 2018. And I would certainly appreciate a follow-up from you, Mr. Secretary. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you.